Peter Kuznick is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. He is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, welcome to the show. With all said and done, do you think the U.S. is walking a tightrope in West Asia?
The United States is definitely walking a tightrope in West Asia, and the chance of this spilling over is growing by the day, almost by the hour. We look at it now compared to just 3 or 4 days ago. We're so much closer to a regional war than we were then. The United States on Friday attacked, as you said, 85 targets in Iraq and Syria, in addition to all the strikes against the Houthis. Israel and Hezbollah have been exchanging fire. We are really on the verge of a regional war, which could be catastrophic. As the EU Foreign Policy Director, Joseph Borrell, said, I should quote him here, he said he's got serious concern about the U.S. airstrikes. He said at any moment in this series of attacks and counterattacks, a spark can create a greater incident. That's what the Chinese have been warning about. That's what many Europeans are concerned about, and many within the United States are also very concerned about this. So we could be on the verge of a catastrophic regional war.
Professor, what if this turns out to be another war that was unplanned? How is that going to play out, at least on the U.S. side?
Well, the U.S. has got something like 40,000 troops in the area. The U.S. has got aircraft carrier strike groups there. The U.S. has an enormous amount of firepower in the region. And the U.S. and Israel both have nuclear weapons. But Iran has got ties to Russia, ties to China, ties to other countries in the area. You know, we don't know how, once these things begin, it's very hard to contain them and to control them. And when you're dealing with nuclear-armed countries, it gets even more dangerous. After the United States pulled out of the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, Iran has been greatly increasing its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, its number of centrifuges, and has shortened the amount of time it would take for a breakout to develop nuclear weapons. Now, they don't have the delivery systems yet in order to deliver them, but they have the capability of developing a nuclear weapon probably within a month. And so, I mean, this situation is fraught with all kinds of dangers far beyond the immediate killing of people. But we've got a humanitarian crisis in Gaza right now.
Right.
The UNRWA, the United Nations, 17 countries and the EU have stopped funding UNRWA. So the famine, the devastation, the starvation that we were seeing before is only going to get worse. And what do they do it for? The Israelis have a secret dossier that we haven't seen, in which they allege that 12 UNRWA workers had supported Hamas in the attack. That's 12 out of 13,000 in Gaza and 30,000 in the region. This is madness, what's going on there. But it's only getting worse, getting worse.
Professor, let's not at least deviate. That's a topic that we can talk for hours on end. But let's come back to what we are talking about. Let's talk about Iran. Iran continues to insist it will retaliate if the U.S. continues to accuse the country of attacking Americans. At this point, what actions should the U.S. look out for, and what will be the repercussions if the U.S. enters into a conflict with nations like Iran?
Iran has capability to hit throughout the region, especially in Israel. Iran does not yet have nuclear weapons, but it certainly has an arsenal of missiles, some of which allegedly are being used by the Russians in Ukraine to great effect. They've got hypersonics now. They have a capability of wreaking tremendous havoc inside of Israel. So if the killing of the 1,200 or so Israelis on October 7th was horrific, we can imagine what the cost would be if this turns into a full-scale regional war within Israel and other U.S. allies in the area.
All right, I've been talking to Peter Kuznick, who's a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. Professor Peter, thank you very much for all your insights and for talking to WION World is One today.
My pleasure.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.